cartito.com landing page. And essentially, when anybody goes to cartito.com, they'll arrive at this page and they'll be asked to create a profile, which is their email address and what have you. They create their profile, and then they'll get access to this page. On this page is all the information. As you can see, there's the plastic tide turners challenge. And then I'll go into these other elements just now, which will make more sense, I think, once the challenge is done. So essentially what people would do then is they would just click on View Challenge. And you can see I've finished the challenge. So I'm just going to quickly do this so I can walk you through a completed version of the challenge. Otherwise, I think it's going to take too long to do it live. So essentially, when the people start, they click on Start the Challenge, and then they get to the welcome screen. So hello there, you're taking the first step to change the world. We can't wait to see what you're going to create. So this is the welcome screen for the challenge itself. And you can see that the amount of stages within each phase. And at the bottom right and left are your navigation bars. So we can just click next there. People can then say which member of community they are, whether it's Scouts, is it Girl Guides, Junior Achievement, what have you. I've just clicked none for myself, but essentially they would click their membership. And then a brief pre-challenge survey, and this is really interesting just in terms of sort of sentiment analysis. You know, why are people interested in engaging in the challenge? And so really over here, it's giving people an opportunity to say why it is that they're actually participating, you know. And so they would select and go next. And then we've got the quiz. And this here we've taken directly from the Tide Turners toolbook. So what we've done a lot in this challenge is try to mimic the actual paper version of the Tide Turners challenge as much as possible. So we've taken these questions directly out. And so this is the pre-challenge that people would then select. And this is really just to see people's understanding of sentiments around plastic prior to actually engaging with the challenge. Then we've got links to the two videos, How Humans Are Turning the World into Plastic by Clean Seas, and then the Tide Turners by the UN Environment. And these were the two videos that you recommended. Those are in there. So when people click on this, it'll just take them to another screen. So I can, for example, just click on that. And that'll take me to YouTube. I can watch the video after the adverts. Okay.
When the gods granted.
So then we've got the two videos. And then a little bit of a question here. Why do you feel it is important to reduce, reuse, and recycle plastic? What do you think will happen if we do nothing? And so people can just write a bit of an intro explanation as to what they think will happen if we don't do anything. So we can see everything up until this point has just been to capture people's understanding of plastics, their involvement, and what have you. And then we've got an introductory video to the design thinking process that people are going to go through overall. And so people can get a better understanding of the process that they're going to go through. Then there's the pledge that people take prior. And this isn't the plastics pledge. This is just an ethics pledge, that they will be honest, not create anything offensive or vulgar or anything like that. So they take that pledge and then they move on into the actual challenge. So that's the last stage of the introduction. And now we move through to empathy. And so these are the different personas that we had also extracted from the Tide Turners playbook. So we have the school principal, we've got a shopkeeper, we've got a high school student, and a local councillor. And each of them have a slightly different challenge. So if we click on the little icon here, we can see a little bit about the specific challenge. So for example, the school principal wants to reduce the amount of plastic waste that the school produces, but not sure what kind of school initiative could help. So how do we help them? And then the shopkeeper, for example, would like to reduce the use of single-use plastics, but is worried about a ban on plastic shopping bags if there's no cheap alternative available. And the high school students heard about that plastic is bad for the environment, but not quite sure where to start actually engaging. And then the local councillor wants to tackle plastic trash to make the area beautiful, encourage tourists, but it's also expensive to provide more trash bins and recycling services. So at this point, these are the different sort of types of challenges that people can focus on, whether it's community-based, school-based, local shopkeepers, or from a school student's perspective. And they would select one of these. You can see here I've selected Marie. I can just click next. And then that takes me to a bit of a profile outline. And then we begin by capturing 3 reasons why this person is facing this problem. So people would then unpack this challenge a little bit further. So, for example, the no cheap alternatives available. I've just captured here, no available alternatives to plastic shopping bags. People don't bring their own bags, so she has to provide bags. Worried people won't pay for more expensive paper bags. So these are just my understanding of that challenge. And so this is what we capture here. As people log on, they all capture their own. And then based on the reasons above, what do you think your user needs to solve this challenge? And so the participants would just capture something there, over here, for example, a way to provide customers with goods without using plastic. Fairly general at this stage still, but we'll keep focusing in. We then progress to define. And you can see this gray text here is where people can actually input their own text. So to effectively reduce the negative impacts of plastic on our world, people like Marie need a way to provide customers with goods without using plastic. And then we have them frame that into a challenge, and that becomes your problem statement. So people need a way to provide customers with goods without using plastic bags. How might we help them achieve that? And you can see we start with a very big, broad challenge. And then based on people's understanding or unpacking of the challenge, we begin to focus it in. So everybody begins to define the challenge from their own perspective over here. And so once we've got the how might we question, we then move through to brainstorming. And essentially what happens here is you can see this text box. People start to just type in potential ideas. We start to get the creativity flowing. How might we solve this? So for example, and these are just some of my ideas that I had down here when I did the challenge, offer discounts to people who bring their own bags, shift to a delivery service that doesn't use bags, provide services where goods are sold in a cardboard box, or bulk order paper bags with other store owners to reduce their overall cost. And we encourage people to get as many ideas down here as possible. And from that, they would then select their favorite 3 ideas and move forward. And then what we have over here is really where people can begin to define their ideas a bit more. So I've selected my top 3 favorite ideas that I think could solve this challenge. I then add my titles, and we use Unsplash to automatically generate images. So people just click on the plus sign that's over here, they type in the type of image they're looking for, and that auto-populates these. And so now we've got my 3 ideas, which are ready to review. And so my 3 ideas are, for example, bring your own. And this is an offer that discounts to people who bring their own bags. Then I've thought of this delivery service called Food to You, which doesn't use plastic bags. And then Sustainable Collective, which is my 3rd idea, which really is this bulk order of paper bags with other store owners to reduce cost. And so once we've got those 3 ideas, we can share them. And then we get feedback. And you can see here, I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people review my ideas. And I can choose whether to accept or ignore this feedback. And I can see which ones people have rated as highest. So over here, these have all received a fairly equal rating. But what might happen, and what often happens as well, is that one idea might get selected by reviewers over others. And this is a chance for participants to really bring in the perspective of other people. And it's a fantastic point in the challenge as well, because we often find people learn a lot from others at this point in the challenge as well. So when they're reviewing other people's ideas, they're getting new ideas themselves, and it helps them refine them. And so you can see we've got these different ideas here. And then based on that, I can select which one of those ideas I want to prototype. And then we've provided different ways in which people can prototype. So I think in the Tide Turners toolkit itself, there was a sort of a news story, or there was a I forget the other one, a sketch, something like that. And so we provided that through these points here. What we have realized is that online, when people are reviewing ideas, they don't necessarily enjoy reading essays. And so we've given them the opportunity to do an explainer video rather than write a long essay and upload that. And if you click on any of these here as well, it gives, with each of them, there's guidelines, there's an example of what it might look like, there's some tips, and then there's some tools that anybody can use. So each of these have their own instructions, tips, and examples. And so based on this, I can select what would be the best way for me to get my idea across if I was to make it real. I then select my idea, and I've selected this idea of a bulk order. I think this one here will really solve the challenge. But people also at this point have the opportunity to create a new idea. So they don't just have to continue with their line of thought. At this point, they can create a new idea. And once they've done that, they then, for example, this is what the prototype looks like when we submit it. And so the video title is Bulk Buy. There's a link to my YouTube video that I've created, Buying in Bulk. How does your solution help reduce the impact of plastic on the environment? So a short little descriptive paragraph. And then explain how the prototype works. And again, a short descriptive paragraph. And then that there gets shared again with my community of scouts and other participants. And whenever we share our ideas or our prototypes at this point, all that feedback is done anonymously. So we don't know who's reviewing our idea. And so that allows people to also give their very honest opinions about these ideas. And so we can see here, I've received this feedback on my idea. Sorry. People think it's clear. If it's launched soon, yes. And so we've got these yes, mostly yes, all the way down to no. And then this last question here, rate the overall quality of the submission. And this is a really useful question as well, because we can start to see, for example, mine has been rated as a good idea with the prototype that's been shared. If I click on number one, it would be just, for example, an idea, but no prototype. So maybe I didn't actually create a prototype and I just submitted an idea. We can rate that. So we've got more of a descriptive rating in the final question there. And again, I can choose to accept or deny, and then just look at this basic feedback. So this is a good way to solve the problems. This reviewer here thought it was awesome. I'll accept all of those and I'll progress to the next stage. And so that's my final submission. And then those would all get captured on the landing page, which we'll go to shortly. Then there's a bit of a reflective component where we say, after doing this project, how do you plan to change the plastic usage? People will enter their own reflective component here. For example, I've written, I'll take my own bags when I go shopping. Something I couldn't do before, but I can do now is, for example, use videos to get my ideas across. And then a new skill that I developed during the process for me is creative thinking. And we can collaborate, and we'll collate all of these findings at the end as well, and sort of share a general overview of how people have engaged in the challenge. And then we've got the post-challenge quiz as well. So we've got the pre and the post. And then people would go through this again and select, and then we can also evaluate the pre and the post. All right, then what happens is I finish, I get my final prototype, which is my final submission, which is my prototype. They explain the title, a link to it, and a bit of a descriptive component here as well. And then we take the Scouts Tide Turner Challenge pledge, once I've submitted my final idea, to let's make a commitment to making the planet happier and healthier, helping our animal friends, and improving our own health and quality of life. And this is, again, out of the Tide Turner Toolkit. So you can see that the online challenge, I think, mimics the paper-based version as honestly as possible. And then after that, we would select Finish Challenge. And then once people finish the challenge, they go to their challenge report. And over here, they can choose to view the report. So if I click on View Report, I get to my page, my skills report. I can see my top skill that I've been developing, which is problem solving. And I can see the next skill that I'm working on, which is collaboration. Okay. And Cartito we measure all this in the background passively. And so we provide these insights to participants afterwards. I can see, for example, then over here, this is the challenge average. This is me. I can see, maybe I need to advance a little bit more or less over here. So, one can begin to see their challenge over here. I can see all my ideas, and I can see my final submission, and I can see all my answers that I gave as well. And so this is my challenge sort of summary report. At the beginning of the challenge as well, one has, for example, the opportunity to go to an assessment and do their MBTI. So they can do this before the challenge. And then one can see here, you've got I can see I finished the challenge itself. I can see my skills that I've developed. And I can see my personality test, my accomplishments and what have you. And again, if I go here, and I view my report, over here where it says rewards, this is where we then link people to their actual certificates. So once they've finished the challenge, they'll get this link here to redeem their rewards. And if they click on this, it takes them over to YOMA, which is the Youth Agency Marketplace. And that's the platform that's issuing the certificates. So once they'll do that, they'll click on this. At the moment, we haven't initiated that just yet. That'll go live today. So people will click on reward, it'll take them straight over to YOMA. And I can maybe just bring up YOMA here to show you what that platform looks like. And so YOMA is the Youth Agency Marketplace. And on this platform, people would then sign up, they would receive their certificates, and they'll also be offered various other rewards in this space here, further learning opportunities and what have you. And then we've also got the crowdfunding opportunity linked to that as well. And so that's the challenge report that people would receive. And I think that there pretty much wraps up the overview and the run through of the challenge. So I think what we can do now is open the floor to questions. And I'll be happy to answer as many as I can. If I don't have the answers, I will take your email address and I will send a response through to you during the course of today. So let me pause there. Should I stop sharing my screen? I can see you again. All right.
I may go first.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Rael. Actually, I would say that's very exciting. I wish I was still young. I can take the challenge.
You can still do it.
Yeah, just a question of curiosity. When you make the presentation, I saw the language tool there, box there. It was on top English. I know Max is more interested in Eastern and Southern Africa, but I'm looking at Africa as a whole, and we have quite half of our National Scout Association, which are French speaking. Do you have an option for French? And I also have a couple of Portuguese speaking, but I'm just looking at it as part of the youth and whether we have the same for that. But that was just a question of curiosity. So as I said, I'm so excited. I wish this could be running also for adults. It's very good product, really.
Great. Thank you, Frederick. And yes, to answer your question, the challenge is available in English and French. So for example, my profile here, it's all in French, evaluations. If I go to the challenge page itself, you can see here in French, we've got the general description of the challenge. And again, if I just switch over to English, that there is in English. We've got the partners, and then again, we've got a bit of an about section, the challenge. We've got the timeline over here. We've got a link to the Tide Turners video, and then obviously the SDGs that this links to. So again, if we see that in English, we can see a challenge overview, a bit more in depth about the challenge, a link to Tide Turners, who can participate. 14 years and above, Frederick, so you're still in the running. And then the Sustainable Development Goals. Yeah, so those are there as well. So yes, the challenge is available in French and English.
Thank you so much. Actually, that's allays my fear, because sometimes when we promote activities, my National Scout Association will come back that we only favor English-speaking countries. But this one, I think, is a good one. So from my side, I think colleagues, Nelson and Max, up to you.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you for the for the question. Actually, we anticipated that and worked very closely with Stan and Marie to help with the French translation. So thank you very much, Stan and Marie, for that support. The only thing we are not able to provide is Portuguese for now, but maybe taking a lesson from this, we can see how to improve that. I think for the other colleagues, we actually have here colleagues from the Asia Pacific region as well, who are also supporting some National Scout organizations with implementing the tide turners. So feel free to ask any questions because this challenge is going to go live tomorrow. And at that time, when it goes live, we may receive inquiries from scouts asking, how do I do this? How do I do this? So feel free. The floor is open.
Maybe in the meantime, the colleagues might think about any question. I have just a quick question to you, Nelson, and colleagues. How about how the promotion will be done? So if you can describe a little bit more what will happen tomorrow when you say that the challenge will go live. And also, it would be good to know from Rael if at some point we will have maybe an interim, let's say, quick report. For example, after 2 weeks of the challenge is going to be open for 1 month, right? So just if it would be interesting to maybe after 2 weeks to receive like a quick report, how many people have been engaged, how it's progressing, so that maybe we can eventually do a final push in terms of promotion for the subsequent 2 weeks. And then finally, one quick question also to Rael on the digital certificate. I didn't understand if that's also issued to Yoma or if that's automatically issued in the Cartido platform itself.
So the digital certificate, as soon as people log into the Yoma, we've got an API built that links Cartido to Yoma. So as soon as people log into Yoma, they click redeem, that API checks, and that's a good question, Max. So when people log into Yoma, they need to use the same email address that they used to log into Cartido, because that then will validate their email address that yes, in fact, that person did complete the challenge, and it'll issue the certificate straight away. So we won't issue certificates at the end of the challenge in a bulk. It'll just be individuals as they complete the challenge. They can go sign up and redeem their digital certificates.
Okay, so there will be 2 types of certificates. One that they will receive from Cartido only at the end of the challenge, and another one that is going to be redeemed in Yoma, correct?
It's one certificate. It's one certificate that encompasses the whole Tide Turners challenge. So they'll get the Tide Turners challenge via Yoma.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Max. In terms of the promotion, we have already a draft publication, a release that will go out. And I know Rael and the team are also helping with a few visuals that we will use to promote. But again, we'll also create others as we go along. So we'll do that we'll publish a story on the website, but we'll also use mainly social media and a lot of WhatsApp groups to push this out. We could also send out a circular to national scout organizations, inviting them to take up this challenge and promote it to the scouts. But again, during this Jota Joti weekend, we would also, whatever opportunity we find to push this, we will push it out as well. And this afternoon, we are also having, together with the UN Environment, and Brian from UN Environment was on the call. He just dropped out a few minutes ago. We are having the Tide Turners Africa Youth Summit, which is actually virtual. So we will also take an opportunity to pitch this to the other partner organizations. That's WAGS, and junior achievement, who are involved in the initial development of the Titanus challenge itself. So we will promote that to them as well this afternoon.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Fantastic.
And also from my side, I know you said you've got some representatives here from Asia Pacific, but if there are new Scouts groups that are joining the challenge or what have you, if there are further questions, I'd be very happy as well to do another session like this, midway through, perhaps, if other people are joining midway through, if they still have questions or what have you. So, and we're available. Hopefully it speaks for itself in terms of how to do the challenge. But if you do have questions, Nelson and Morris and Max, you've got my email address. Please feel free to send something. If there's any sort of bug that people picked up, which there shouldn't be, we've run it on so many different platforms. That's the other element as well. People can also do this on their phones. So I've demoed it to you on my computer, but I've completed the challenge on my Android phone as well. So it's fully adaptive to different devices.
Thank
you, Rael, for the...
And Max, Jonathan, I can see that you want to speak from the program's perspective. Let me just be brief. And Nelson, I was just saying that to Max's question of the promotion, and I think the idea of the circular is also good. And even if we are promoting with the young people, I think from the programmatic side, and especially Jonathan is going to speak next, from the scouting development side, it's going to be good also to promote it as part of our Scouting from Home program that we are supporting those. So that could be, a circular will be helpful to also take the advantage of the National Scout Association to promote it from the end. Thank you
so much.
Jonathan?
And if I may just quickly react to this, if when you send out the official email out, Nelson and colleagues, if you can also maybe forward that to me, because I would also like to do a little bit of promotion, or let's say advertisement within UNICEF, also with our headquarters, with our management, because I think it's a great initiative, and we would like to also showcase that this is being launched, and of course then with the report after when the challenge is completed, also share the results, of course. So, but that's yeah, thank you for that. Jonathan, I think over to you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rael, for the presentation. I think from our perspective, the platform is very good. Just two quick questions. One, I think is something we already discussed before, but just to shed light more again from your end, is with this engagement, how will we ensure the issue of online safety for the participants as they do this? And then the second question will be, this challenge, what of a group, a scout group, or a patrol of about 10 scouts, can they do a joint challenge, or is just designed for individuals?
Thank you for that question, Jonathan. At the moment, the challenge has been designed for individuals, but that's not to say that people can't so they would complete the challenge as individuals, but they might all need to upload the same idea. So for example, because all the soft skills measurement and the skills measurement is done on an individual level. So we have seen teams, for example, come together and submit. So for example, when they're doing their ideas, they might want to, and this is potentially how it could work as a blended program, is that up until ideation, people come up with their own ideas. They don't do that as a team, they come up with their own and then share. And then from that feedback, they can then, because they can also share ideas with their friends. So they might want to share within the team and then select further ideas to take forward. And so, for example, I mean, if you have a team of 5 and they submit the same prototype, the same idea at the end, right at the end, if that idea gets any award or what have you, or support or what have you, then obviously the entire team would get that. So it is possible for people to do it as a team. They would just need to upload the same final idea. So I hope that makes sense. They would complete the challenge on their own, but then, so for example, if they made a YouTube video, they would all just upload the same link, that sort of thing. So that would be a way for people to work together. So the sharing of ideas that is completely open to teams who might want to work together. And then around the online safety, I just want to see if I can open this challenge here quickly, share something with you. Because that's very important to us as well. Can you see my screen? So over here, one can also report abuse. So for example, if I submit an idea and someone just replies horrible things to me, I don't have to accept or ignore. I can actually report abuse as well of that person, and then we'll be notified of that. So people can report abuse through at any sort of interactive stage throughout the challenge. But the other way that we protect individuals is to also keep them completely anonymous. And we also, in our data policy, we don't share any data of any individuals with anybody. So you'll get, at the end of the challenge, Scouts get an overall perspective of participants, but we don't share individual data with third parties or anybody else. So we've got quite a strong GDPR compliant data policy ourselves.
Jonathan, I think that's, I'm glad to hear that the Safe from Harm is already taken into the design of the program. Maybe from our side as a team, then we'll need to looking into how do we address when the issue of online security is flagged, how do we address that? So I think that we can take it up from our side. But to your initial question on whether it is individual or a patrol can do that, I like the proposal that the suggestion that Rael made, but there could also be another way that we can do. Maybe the patrol can work together and then elect one person to be filling on the behalf on the challenge. So that person, if the price comes to that person, then it is for the patrol looking into that. But I think we can also look at it that way. Then that also. The collaboration will be not on the platform itself, could be through another channel, and then but one person can be filling the challenge on behalf of the patrol.
Yes,
that's also an option.
That is an option, Frederick. The only challenge with that is that when it gets to the issuing of certificates, if people haven't gone through the process themselves, so it would only be that one person that gets a certificate. So that's where the challenge comes in. So the issuing of certificates is also done on an individual basis. So, I mean, depending on that, I haven't thought about this before, but you know, for example, people could come up with a team name and submit that as their login, and then the team gets issued a certificate if they've got an email address. You know, we won't be able to then print individual names on it because the entire process is automated. But they can say that the team, you know, received the award, and then it's up to them. So that's a possibility. It's not something we've engaged before, but we're very happy to test the system.
Yeah, I think that's critical for us because when you look at one of the elements of the Scout method, how Scouts work, is working in small groups called patrols. So I think even with the challenges like this, it's important for us to create that buy-in with the NSOs, with the National Scout organizations, by ensuring that the Scout method is really used in all the process. So I think maybe we can start as is now, but we can explore on how to really capture that element, that the team can get that acknowledgement, but also the individual members in a way also get acknowledgement for the effort here. But by and large, this is a very good challenge for sure.
Okay, great. Thank you for all those questions. And I think this is a good interaction as it helps us to, you know, flag out some of these potential issues we may get coming from the National Scout organizations. So maybe, Rael, one thing you could do, I see it's almost it's about a quarter to midday, and I know other colleagues may need to rush to other meetings. But maybe you could share the dashboard finally at the end of the challenge. You know, what kind of data are we expecting to receive as Scouts in terms of the participation? How are we going to track all that? And yeah, so that
Okay.
everybody can also appreciate what comes out of the challenge.
Sure thing. Let me just find something here.
And as you find whatever you're looking for, Max, maybe you could speak into what we are anticipating to do with the ideas that come out of the challenge moving into the next year.
Yes, thanks so much, Nelson. I think we will definitely maybe need a little bit more discussion together. But the idea initially was to award the best 3 ideas with some even like monetary awards to implement it. So it's more like through, of course, funds channeled through the National Association in order to then support the winners. Of course, because of some changes that we had during the year, with the budget that we have for our partnership is not possible like right now. But definitely, I think we have the option to include these if you consider in the next let's say agreement program. And at the same time, we could also, for example, see if UNEP could facilitate the plastic tight harness badges, like the printed version, that the scouts could also use them in their uniforms. So that's something that I don't know if, Nelson, you could also follow up and with UNEP team and let us know if they are available, or if some funding are required in order to maybe produce more from the recycled materials, which is quite interesting. So I think, yeah, definitely we can explore this. As you know, colleagues, we have extended our partnership right now as a no cost because the adolescent nutrition activities have been a little bit put on hold due to COVID situation. So between, I think, January and June, we'll try to prioritize that. At the same time, already explore, basically design the future collaboration. I'm personally very happy about this collaboration. I hope it's the same for you. So I'm sure that we can find ways to sustain the partnership. Thank you.
Just a quick one, Max, before Rael presents. One thing that I've learned with scouting is that they don't look forward necessarily for money, but we are very proud in putting as many badges on our uniform as possible. So if there is a badge, that's going to be kind of really a medal for them is going to be helpful. But understand the position and the challenges that we are also having with funding, all of us.
What we have seen in the past that works really, really well with, for example, UNICEF country offices, is to not necessarily take that onus on yourself to give all the prizes, but rather extend your network into, for example, innovation hubs. And so one of what we've seen in the past as prizes is actually these incubation hubs or innovation labs, linking them up with the top ideas. So what happens is at that lab might want to offer support to 3 or 4 or 5 people and actually help them develop their idea further into something that they can actually market or sell or become a product or what have you. So what might be quite good as well is to speak to the different innovation labs that exist within each country or each locality and see if they'd be willing to come on board as sort of the implementation partners of ideas as well. So for example, we saw that in Malawi and Burundi, South Africa as well. A lot of the youth who completed the previous COVID Innovation Challenge, Youth Innovation Challenge, they were linked up with those incubation labs on the ground. And so again, it's not necessarily a monetary reward, but acknowledgement of a good idea, and then turning that into an actual product that they can sell and make money themselves later. So there's that entrepreneurship component, and even that could be linked to a badge. So they get support for the idea and an entrepreneurship badge or something along those lines. I mean, I'm thinking aloud, but we have seen great success there. In fact, with linking up with that innovation networks that exist within each country.
Let me just add this, and Rael, I'm very happy that you brought that up. When Nelson actually consulted, my comment on that was that we need to keep, and this is a scouting activity, from our side, we really need to keep the scout method. I'm not discouraging the monetary reward, but I will accept that only in terms that it can go to support a project like a winning project, to be implemented, but not as a monetary reward to individual like that. And I think that one will kind of be detrimental to our Scout method. But if there's a project that gets a award and which is being funded for it to go back again to support the community, I think that could be something we can look at into that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think for me as well. I mean, this is just my personal opinion, not necessarily that of Partida or anything like that. But what I've seen in my own work as well in this space is people feel more empowered if they make that money themselves rather than just being given it. So if you can give them the support to turn their idea into a product that then makes money, you don't have to give them that $100 or $1,000 or whatever it is. You know, if they make that on their own and you just provide the support for them to do that, I think it's also much more of a learning process. So I do think that would be fantastic, and that's where the support of local labs and incubation hubs can come in. Yeah. But let me just quickly share my screen, and I've just pulled this up. I hope this gives enough of a description, which I also go into it a bit in depth. But in terms of the, So in terms of the technical reporting and the data processing, if you see on the right-hand side here, this dynamic data reporting component, there's a dashboard that we run in the background, and essentially what we get here is, and what we can provide you in an ongoing basis. So this is dynamic reporting. You won't just get this at the end of the 1 month, but we can give you sort of daily or weekly updates. And so what we can start to see here are, for example, and I don't know if I should zoom in a little bit more here. I don't think I can. You can see the different countries that participated, for example. And again, over here, what these will be here, we can do countries or, for example, whether it's Scouts or Guides or WWF or what have you. We can see how many active users there are in each country or from each organization and what the completion rates are as well. So, for example, there's a fairly low completion rate. We might think, how do we actually improve that on the go? And the way this is really useful, for example, is we can see participation by gender. So we can see, for example, male versus female. And where this is really useful is in how we deliver the messaging around challenges. So, for example, what we saw during the COVID Youth Innovation Challenge was initially it was about 80 to 90% male participation. So what we did was we also changed a lot of the languaging and encouraged the different country officers to change the languaging around how they were promoting the idea. And we could start to do more directed promotion. And we saw the female participation then rise. And so the dynamic reporting is fantastic because we can actually improve our processes as we go through the challenge, not just for the next iteration of it. And then we can also see the different age groups and the percentages of those age groups and who's participating. The completion rate, we can start to see their preferred device. So for example, here it's 90% of people completing it on mobile. That's also very useful for us because we know how to design the next challenge. The preferred channel, so how are people actually being onboarded? What's the average time people are staying on the challenge itself? And then the different personas. So as you saw at the beginning of the Tide Turners Challenge, we had the schoolgoer, we had the shopkeeper, we had the community leader, the school principal. We can start to see which of those people are sort of flocking towards the most, if in fact there is a preferred sort of space to try and solve for. And then the types of prototypes. So we can see whether it's a sketch, a storyboard, a video, or apps, and we can start to share that with you as well as we go through the process. And the way that we do that, the data collection is done through, for example, a peer-to-peer assessment. That's that blind peer-to-peer assessment where they rate each other. We then also have experts evaluating the ideas as well as our algorithms in the back end, and that all sort of works together to come up with this final score, which then produces these dashboards over here. And so this dashboard we'll share with you. And what I can do as well is maybe after this call, I can share a document with you that outlines that dashboard in a bit more depth as well.
Thank you, Rael. That will be very helpful, and at least it will give us an indication of the progress we are making as we go along. I think
Yeah.
a weekly update would do us good, so that we're able to review that
Sure.
on a rolling basis. Any other questions from colleagues?
So just maybe a comment or a question comment. The target is 40,000, no? Adolescent young people, correct?
Yes.
I think it's 40,000. I can't remember the exact number.
40,000.
Yeah.
40.
And what is your expectation, colleagues? 40,000 scouts from Africa, or 30,000 scouts from Africa and 10,000 from other regions? Do you have any projection in terms of your communication power that you have in the networks?
Well, I really wouldn't say at this point that personally I have any projections, but one thing for sure would be leveraging the countries that are already implementing the Titanus challenge as sort of like focus countries. But those ones, at least we can give them a little of a push, but it's still open to other scouts. So any other scout willing to join could actually take part in this.
Mm-hmm. And if you could share, Nelson, that list of those countries that are already doing the plastic, that would be helpful for me also.
Okay, we can.
Thank you. Okay, fantastic. Thanks so much from my side. Very interesting. Congratulations, Rael, by the way, on the scout team that supported this. Very, very well done.
Yeah, I mean, the support from Nelson and the team has been absolutely incredible in getting all this information. So a huge thank you to all the scouts teams that have contributed to I think making this challenge. And I'm going to say it now, to making it a success, because I'm sure it will be. Yeah.
Sorry, last question on the Portuguese. Do you believe that if, for example, the scouts team from Mozambique decide to support, I know that there have been unfortunately some challenges in Mozambique, well, a very sad loss, no, for the scouts community. But I guess that the National Association, would we still be on time to do the Portuguese translation, or let's say not for this time, we'll think about the next iterations?
I will check with our technical team, but my understanding is that once the challenge goes live, it's very difficult to then launch it in a different language, because it could break that instance of the challenge.
Oh, that's fine. Okay, thank you.
Just so you know, for example, the COVID-19 Youth Innovation Challenge, we ran that in English, French, Portuguese, Spanish, Swahili. We can also do Arabic. So for future challenges, if we are looking at exploring, multilingual options, that we can do that. Yeah. We would just obviously need that lead time to work with different country offices around the translations. Yeah. All right.
All right, let me also say a big thank you. And I think it was very clear. I can see other colleagues are not asking questions, so they've been so closer to you. Just a joke by closing. You didn't introduce yourself well. By the way, you seem to master well the scouting program. Do you have any background on that?
I was a young scout.
I
was a young scout in South Africa many, many years ago.
We can smell that, huh?
Fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Rael. That was very, very good presentation. And thank you for the collaboration. As I said, Nelson is leading from our side, but you can see I'm always on the background supporting. So if anything, Max, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much. And thank you, colleague, for making time to attend this presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. And a huge thank you from my side as well. Please reach out if there are any further questions as well. We're here to support.
Thank you, colleagues. Thanks again. Bye. Have a good day and a good Joti this weekend.
Yes.
Thank you. Bye.
Weekend.